Today I am a small blue thing, like a marble or an eye. Look, I promise you it was fine a minute ago, and actually you'll see in a second it was sunny, it was everything. It wasn't very warm, but for reasons that are only interesting if I fail to tell you any of them, I've come to somewhere new, somewhere I don't know at all. Now, I'm a writer, and especially actually as I've got some time here, I would like to find some place to write in. Somewhere warmer, somewhere drier, somewhere with coffee. But also as writers, you and I could be using this place, wherever it is, as a setting. We could be creating characters who live here or are from here. So, whether it's for them or just for us, I think we need to know where everything is. I think we know where anything is around here. But then also, especially for characters, what would they know already about this area, this place? What would they take for granted here? All right, the best thing is to do is to get out there in the wet and ask someone. But we can do so much just on our iPhones in moments. Hello, I'm William Gallagher, and this is 58 Keys, which, as ever, as always, is for writers like you and me, who use and who write on Macs and iPhones and iPads, except the Monday videos. They're for everybody, or writers anyway, and Fridays are very explicitly for script writers, because I'm obsessed with scripts. Do subscribe, please. Subscribe, like, or patronise, because we have so much to talk about. Well, this time, actually something's a bit obvious, really. I've come somewhere. My iPhone has Apple Maps and has Google Maps on it. We can take a look around with those. I mean, as it happens, I'm not keen on Google Maps. I mean, it's led me astray actually exactly as often as Apple Maps has. And, you know, if you're going to be led astray, you kind of want to be a bit more dramatic than the odd wrong turn somewhere. A life change, that's the kind of astray. Anyway, to Google Maps, I just find it a confusing mess. But, you know, if it works for you, it works for you. With it, or Apple Maps, though, I would argue that they are great in really specific ways. I mean, for driving or walking somewhere, no question, I'm on Apple Maps. And actually, Apple Maps lets you build up whole guides to places. And I've done that. I did that once during a holiday, as I was kind of adding the places I'd been to on a particular trip I was really enjoying. Or recently I went to Paris, but before I went, I added a pile of possible places to visit, so with one button I could see them all. For what we're doing today, though, well, we've got here. We've arrived somewhere new, and what I want to do is bone up on the area. Apple Maps and Google Maps, well, they'll give you the street layout. They might give you an idea of the terrain, I suppose, but beyond that, they're too specific. Apple Maps, for example, will show me all the coffee shops nearby. If I search them, I have to know to search for coffee shops, and it won't get anything else. When you found a place, right, like a coffee shop, Apple Maps, no question, it's my favourite for showing you how to walk there. It's AR arrows, and it's here be dragons stuff. Startlingly useful. But coffee shops and cafes, say, they might need separate searches in Apple Maps or Google Maps. Libraries, certainly that's a different search entirely, isn't it? You definitely have to know what it is you're looking for. And I feel that means you practically have to know, well, what's there already for it. Whereas there is an app called Where To, which just looks around for you. Rather than specifying right away that you want a coffee shop, you can use one of Where To's categories. You can search specifically for a coffee shop or the name of a shop, but there are categories. I do sometimes think that each of the icons in this ring is a little confusing. Like, knife and fork, okay, food and drink, I can figure that one out. Some of the others less so, but you tap on one of these, and within any category there are a lot of options. I would still like one button to push and just see all the major things around me. And I suppose actually Apple Maps and Google Maps come closest to that, but those show you so little. Where To's categories are much better. The categories, there are initially a list of what could be there. You have to choose one before Where To will go off to have a look for you. And sometimes I think it could be more obvious. such as, well, for example, I might have put cafes under food, but where to has it under drink. So there's a lot of piddling around the categories. But then once you have found a category that you like, you can also mark an entry like cafes or whatever as a favourite. In fact, I've done that there with the cafe one, meaning that at least when you go into the right category, it's at the top. So this is a list of all cafes near me, arranged by distance, and also with some notes such as, open, closed, opening soon. I obviously sometimes see closing soon. You tap on any of them and you get more details, usually plus reviews, usually plus photographs of them. But what I like is that instead of a list, you can instead choose to see a map view of all of them. That's a bit gimmicky, I'll give you that. But you can choose the AR overlay version. So you move your iPhone around and labels appear on your screen showing you where each one is, the actual direction of them and the distance as well. I do think this is actually enormously useful for what I'm doing right now, coming to a new place. You can instead tell where to do all of this somewhere else. You tell it that you're in New York City, for example, and away off you go. It will provide you the same correct listings around New York. That ought to be handy for when you're sending a character to Manhattan or wherever, but it is also absurdly fiddly to do. It's not going to sound it, but it is. You have to go into where to settings, choose advanced, then at last map section, and then go find the place on that. Do a search that takes you to that area. You can do it, but every time I've really quickly schlepped back to settings, advanced, and reselected around current location again. It's where it works best. Where to is free to download, then it's a subscription app that costs a whole $3 or £3 for a year. Or you can spend £13 or $15 and get a perpetual license, which in fact is what I did several years ago now. In a similar way, you could also consider a different app called Around Me. Instead of that wheel with the categories that you then drill down to, Around Me, it's simpler, I suppose. It shows just a flat series of icons, and with one tap, you go in, it's showing you the nearest cafes, the nearest coffee houses, and so on. Simpler maybe, faster maybe, and it's free. It's free if you can put up with adverts. And actually, I don't regret spending £3 or $3 to remove those ads, except I regret it a tiny bit, because Around Me failed to find some of the places that Where To did. I wish I knew where they were getting their data. But Around Me is fine enough, and there's a free version with that. Okay. What's unfortunately not so fine anymore is an app that I have previously enthused about called Local Scope. For a time there, I actually had both Local Scope and Where To on my iPhone's front screen for such a long time, because they were similarly useful, but just different enough that it was great to have them both. But I tell you, that must have been a hell of a long time ago, though, because as I looked into it now to talk to you, turns out I'm not the only one who hasn't used Local Scope. Local Scope hasn't used it. Hasn't been updated in a decade. More than meaning, it looks old, it's also broken. What it did so well was hook into other services, particularly social media platforms. And actually, I wouldn't mention it if it didn't still do a little bit of that. So, for instance, looking where I am now, Local Scope can show me recent photographs taken in the area, posted in the last few days to Flickr. I think that's useful. I don't know what she thinks. And I don't know she looks drier than me. I don't know a better way to see such things unless you go into Flickr or surely Instagram these days or wherever else. Local Scope can plug into that. It can still plug into Foursquare, which frankly I'd forgotten existed. I'm not fully sure if its benefits either with Local Scope, but at least for those two platforms and maybe a couple of others, Local Scope will show you something useful about where you are. There are many, many other links in Local Scope, and some of them might depend on where you are, whether they'll work or not. But forget Twitter, we all should. Forget Facebook and things. The app will now always say it has failed to find anything on them, but it will also always offer to connect you again. That's the problem, this connection. Yeah, I suppose it is, but doesn't matter. The connection doesn't work. There's nothing you can do about it. Tap through, yeah, don't bother. Fails. It's a shame. It is such a shame to see a great app evaporate, but it's free, so you could use it for the bits that do work. I think all of this, where to, around me, Apple Maps, they're doing what I said I happen to need today myself as a writer here. They're showing me where the nearest, driest coffee shop is. And they can all show you bus stops, train stations, public transport of every description, fine. But when you are setting a character here, or actually I suppose if you're just curious about where in the world have I driven to, then there is more. And actually, one of the reasons for telling you about Local Scope is because it was Local Scope that reminded me of this. That app showed me that you can get Wikipedia articles about exactly where you are. But don't do it in Local Scope. Do it in either the official Wikipedia app for iPhone or something like Wikipanion. Wikipanion is a third-party Wikipedia reader that I've had for a decade or more, easily. I think at the time when I got it, it was the only option for usefully reading Wikipedia on your iPhones. Quite small screen at the time, but in the official Wikipedia app for iPhone, you get a Places tab. In Wikipanion, there's an ellipses icon. Tap either of those, and you get every article, every Wikipedia entry that is to do with where you are. It does depend on the article writer or editors doing whatever it is they have to do to include the geographic details. So you know that not all of them will. There will surely always be more articles that you'd have to find with a manual search. But for a fast briefing on where you are and what's been happening around you, historically maybe, I'd have said this was the best way. Until... look at that. Look how long you and I have been talking without mentioning AI. Yet this is actually a case where AI can be extraordinarily useful if you're a little careful. Ask any AI service to tell you about where you are and it will do it in detail, full detail, just possibly wrong, you know. This is new to me, and the first one I tried, well, it went right then. Give me a sec. Here you go. Here's what's going on. It had taken the location from my iPhone and done its searching. It tried to be clever, though, and also give me the current weather. I'm not actually convinced now that it was right, but as it confidently told me details like wind speed and all this, it also announced that, notice that that's for right now, William. That's for 2 p.m. on Friday, December 6, 2025. Yeah, when I was trying that, it was December 6. It was 2 o'clock, whatever it was. But December the 6th, 2025 is a Saturday, not a Friday. The sheer pointlessness of AI sometimes. But I nexted it specifically in ChatGPT, and this time it's no, I don't know where you are, do I? The iPhone let me then share my location once, and ChatGPT got to work. Listed everything you can think of. Just 2 problems. One is, no more than getting the day wrong, which is easy to spot, you know that any AI will just make this crap up. It's like working with a very bored child or somebody in government. Yeah, and I picture developers of AI needing constant reaffirmation. I mean, that's a brilliant question, William, it said. What a fantastic idea to look around you. Yeah, could you please just do it? You can put up with AI, you can't trust anything AI gives you. Obviously, you need at least a second source. But in the short term, well, you could try this actually. Ask the same AI platform, whatever it is, the same question again. You'll get a different response. Why? And you can also it doesn't matter, it says you can come back to the chatbot and say, no, that's not right. And it will all scurry off obsequiously and come back with yet another different response, which might be more accurate. You never know. And then there's the other problem. You could actually be too accurate. I mean, you and I, we're sorted for finding coffee shops near us and cafes, but our characters around here, they could be as ignorant as we are about what's around us. And none of them will have encyclopedic knowledge of their neighborhood, unless that's a characteristic. That's a point. Good point. Otherwise, I would say none of them are going to know the opening times of the post office that you and I can find out. So you can't take all of this research and put it into the mouths of your characters. But in moments, you can be in a brand new place and get a really good first idea of what happens here, what work there is here. That's another thing. What sort of characters do that work in this sort of place? What characters would thrive or struggle here? Just in moments spent on your iPhone. Love this stuff. That's it for this edition of 58 Keys. Do remember, please, 58 Keys writing workshop videos that come out every Monday. But for now, thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourself, okay? Write more, though, and I'll see you soon.